Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. We're live today, obviously early. Pretty tired still, to be honest, from the vacation, but looking forward to FPL. My team, as it stands, I've already made 2 free transfers. It's Vardy. So Vardy party's here, and we're going with Salah as well as our captain. So Saka out of the team, Isak out of the team as well. Really strong teams, lots of home fixture, I'd say. Lots of home fixtures, I'd say. Only Bruno being against Crystal Palace away. Now, I could have gone out of Bruno last night as well, simply because Saka wasn't set to fall, but I did think that it was valuable to play Bruno over Saka this week just because of the quality of the fixtures. So I'll take that price drop on the chin, and obviously that's going to affect the wild card in the future, but I don't think that 0.1 was something that really affected my future wildcards. I haven't set on a draft on wildcard 6 yet, so we can talk about wildcard 6 maybe after the deadline. I think I'll probably do a live stream at some point, and then we can actually discuss maybe an early wildcard 6 draft. I also have a very special video planned up later this week, or rather next week, with a certain winner of FPL, and we'll be discussing wildcard 6, which I think is super interesting. So that's it for my team. Hope you guys are enjoying it this morning, and let's just go into the chat questions. All right, so JP says, hi Fran, start 2 out of Gabriel, Robinson, Davis. I'd probably play Davis. I'd probably play Robinson and Davis, to be honest. I know Arsenal are going to try and play as defensively as possible. So yeah. Eamon, that's crazy what I've just read in chat. Just said that you dreamt of me today. I dreamt of DCL getting a brace, and that made me really upset because I know I went into Vardy last night. But I hope you're well, and thank you. Jota to Diaz. I don't think I would do that, Sarah, until we get a Liverpool leak, and a certain Twitter account, Anfield Insights 9 or something like that, I believe always tries to put Liverpool leaks early. So I really think we will get Liverpool leaks hopefully today, and we can navigate them with you together. Jason, hope you're doing well. Jay Wavy, hope you're doing well. Moad, hope you're doing well. Eddie, hope you're doing well. Who would you have on wildcard, McNeil or Rodgers? I'd probably have McNeil, to be honest. Because you got to think, of course, Aston Villa's run of games is getting worse now, right? Whereas McNeil's run of games is literally just about to start, and it's getting a lot better. Holiday was amazing. I'm going to hope you're doing well. Wildcard team. I used to put a wildcard team for GW5, Manoj. Hey, Fran, do you prefer Jota and Watkins or Salah plus 6.7 forward? For this game week, I think I prefer Salah plus a 6.7 forward. The only reason being, if you think about it, you've got Salah captaincy, which I think is actually a lot better than any other captain this week. The alternative, I would say, is Son. But I think Haaland captaincy is very, very far short of Salah. That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people don't agree, but those are my thoughts. Which is why I like Salah more, because of the impact of captaincy. And still, you're going to find one forward, maybe, that is going to be stronger than, let's say, Watkins, or comparable, right? Watkins is clearly better than any 6.7 forward in the game. That's just a fact. But you can probably find a forward like, let's say, DCL within the medium to long term that's probably better. And that's my thoughts. Also, in the future, Salah can just be moved back into someone like Saka, right? Lucas says, would you do João Pedro and Muniz? What did I do? Sorry. Would you do João Pedro and Muniz to DCL and Vardy? I probably wouldn't move out of João Pedro. I feel like João Pedro might be fine. I would probably pick one between DCL and Vardy. Personally, I would say DCL is a bit more of a long-term pick. I am definitely playing João Pedro, so as you can see within my own team, Fraser, so that hope that answers your question. I do think Jota might start. Yeah, I think it's probably likely. Diamond, nice to see you well. Hello to my fellow fanatics. Hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you around too much lately, but hope all is good. Robert TG6, morning Fran, 1 free transfer from the bank. Should I store it or go for João Pedro to Vardy / Calvert-Lewin? I still think you should play João Pedro, right? I think João Pedro has trained. We definitely know he trained yesterday. We definitely know he's probably going to train today and tomorrow. And keep in mind that the Brighton game is a Sunday game. sorry, he's not going to train tomorrow, but obviously he's going to train today and he's going to play tomorrow. So I do think that João Pedro has a pretty strong chance of starting. I know the manager has mentioned the risk, but yeah, I think either he starts or he doesn't play is one of the classic sort of signs that we tend to see in football, right? It's not going to be like, oh, he's a risk and therefore we're going to play him off the bench. So I think if you have a first sub option, that's fine. That's probably fine. You're going for a Forest defender, Adrian or Adrian. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Forest have looked really good so far. I think Aina looks really good as well. Why am I not playing Consa? So I've sort of explained that with the sort of João Pedro piece. FPL Rohits, hey, hello, Fran. Would you do Palmer to Jota / Diaz? Absolutely not. I would absolutely want to keep Palmer in this situation. Afnan says, I've got Guardiola, Saliba, Robinson, Trent. I would definitely play Guardiola, Robinson, Trent. Who to start, Aina or FaZe? I'd probably start FaZe. Are Isak start or Beach? I really don't know, man. Honestly, I don't have Newcastle leaks. I saw that Craig Hope, a Newcastle reporter, said that Isak is expected to start anyways, but don't take what I'm saying as gospel, right? Because I don't know the veracity of what this reporter is saying. So it seems like he is. Why am I picking Pedro? What do you mean by picking Pedro? I think he should be ready to start this weekend, is why I have João Pedro. Crab Craig Teeth, hi Fran, long time lurker here. My first comment, would you start Minte or Konsa? I would still take the chance to start Minte personally. I do know that it's a bit risky because Minte also started within the cup match, which I think, you know, that's not exactly a great sign. If you feel like there's going to be a Minte bench risk, I would definitely just play Konsa. So, you know what, actually, maybe I'll make it simple for you. I think I would just play Konsa. Yeah, I'd just play Konsa. Boyson says, start Rico, Robinson, start Saka or Welbeck. I would try and chance it with Rico, personally. Start Saka or Welbeck. I think I would play Welbeck too. It's pretty close, but I think Welbeck starts this game, and this is a pretty poor fixture for Saka, so yeah. Zotian says, thanks for the stream, mate. Holding for Liverpool team news, but 99% going to do Saka and Jota to Salah McNeil. I think that's totally fine as a 1 week punt. Totally fine. You're doing good work, Fran. Thank you, Mad Ass. How have you guys been in general? Graham says, thanks for the content, Fran. I love it. Viva FC Barcelona. Honestly, you might actually find that I'm probably the least biased Madrid fan ever. So, as I like to say, I do actually own a t-shirt of Messi's from Barca, just because I respect him so much. But yeah, I generally also like it when Spanish teams win in competitions, as long as, you know, we're out of the competition. So that's sort of my thought. I'm a little bit more like domestic biased, but that's just because I can't stand it when some English teams win European trophies. Fran, are you from Hong Kong? Yeah, I'm actually half I'm half Hong Konger, I suppose. My mother's from Hong Kong. Kaif Mahmood says, hi Fran, love the content. I've got a quick query and you could do with advice. Which three would you start out of Porro, TAA, Robinson, Lewis, and Greaves? I would probably play Porro, Trent, and Robinson. I think there's a choice between Robinson and Greaves. I mean, to be fair, I'd actually play Porro, Trent, and Greaves, I think. I would play those three. And who would you bench out of Roger, Smith Rowe, and Eze? I'd play Eze for sure. I'd play Rogers personally, but if you want to go for Smith Rowe, I think that's fine. It's 50-50 with Rogers. I think Eze definitely has to start though. Hey Fran, love the content, especially cheat sheet. Thank you, Sticks and Stone Sig. Inspected Goal saying, considering Haaland to Solanke and Eze to Salah versus just doing Isak to Solanke. I quite like that move because I guess that like, I mean, a move like, let's say, going to Solanke is clearly a bit of an extension of your sort of run, right? So you're not wildcarding anytime soon. I get that. But then I think obviously like the big question, of course, is whether you're willing to go off of Haaland like for the next 2-3 game weeks, if not for a while, right? So yeah, I mean, totally up to you. I found that it was quite hard to justify going going off of Haaland just because of the 2 price rises that I was taking into account. And yeah, that's sort of why I've probably stuck with Haaland and actually opted to go for a wildcard 6 strategy But I can totally understand. Like, I think Hedgehog himself is actually planning to ignore wildcard 6, also planning to keep Haaland, which is, you know, much worse in terms of expected value, but actually very interesting. So good luck, Swish, if that's you. Steffi Mavididi, Steven says. I mean, this might be the week. This might be the week. If you've held him all this time, you've seen him do well in the previous match. Good luck. I hope that will be fun. Play Greaves or Konsa. Definitely play Konsa. Hi, Fran. Stuck with the decision of DCL versus Vardy. Please help. I personally think that DCL is a much better medium to long-term pick. Whereas with Vardy, for me, he's exclusively or extensively just a one game week. Good luck for the game week to you as well. Is Vardy a hold till game week 15? I mean, I wouldn't say he's necessarily a hold. I mean, Vardy actually just generally does have a good run of games, with exception to the game next week. But do I have the same confidence in his minutes with Edouard around and obviously with his general age? Probably not. So I tend to think DCL is better. But yeah, if you want to have Vardy in your team, I can't say it's poor. Why is everyone ignoring Palmer? He might just start scoring big. I mean, it's not that everyone's ignoring Palmer. I'm not sure that's the right approach. It's just that the reality is every FPL team is going to have some sacrifices. So I don't have Watkins. He can score big. I don't have Palmer. He can score big. I don't have Son. He can score big. So I don't think it's really helpful to sort of mention why people are ignoring Palmer, but just look at, I would say just look at someone's team, look at whether it's strong or not, and then judge it based on that, as opposed to, oh, it's missing a certain XYZ key player. That's probably not the right approach. Jackson to Watkins for a -4. I would definitely not do it for a -4. This is actually a decent Jackson fixture. I know it's a much better Watkins fixture, but for a -4, I don't think I would do it unless you're really good at Captain Watkins. Hi, Fran. Is Jota a keep or a sell? I would actually just wait for leaks. I personally, if I was owning Jota this week, I would actually just hold him. The reason why I would hold him is because I think there's still a pretty high chance that he starts. We are probably also going to get Liverpool leaks. So until the moment we actually get Liverpool leaks and we find out that, let's say, someone like Darwin is starting, there's no reason to actually sell someone like Jota for now. Hello, Fran. Can you please check Discord? Absolutely, I can. And thank you for the super chat, Dr. Azam. Personally, I think your team can actually go towards a wildcard 8, so I wouldn't really be too aggressive with the team, right? If I look at your team now, like Smith Rowe, I don't mind starting, Rodgers, I don't mind starting, Eze, I don't mind starting, Salah, I don't mind starting, João Pedro, Haaland as well. In your defense, you're probably going to play Trent, Porro. Probably you should actually play Harwood Bellis this week. I know it doesn't sound great, but then you can play Lewis first bench, right? So I think what I would do this week is I would probably do the Isak downgrade this week, just to make sure that you actually have, you know, one less doubt in your team. And then I would actually roll the second free transfer. So I actually prefer Isak to DCL, because Isak to DCL is a better run of games up until game week 8. If you go Vardy, the issue is if you wildcard on 8, for example, you don't have a strong team. But actually, you've got Gabriel, which is really strong for game week 6. If you actually have the opportunity to just simply go Eze to Saka next week, I think that's really good. I would go for the top move for sure. Palmer and DCL is also a really strong competitive move as well. I'll tell you why. Because actually, you might find yourself captaining Salah on game week 6. So it depends on what your thoughts are, Dr. Azan, I would say. But I like option 1 and 3 for sure. And I would definitely not wildcard soon with your team specifically. Eric, I know you had a super chat. Quickly catching up to that right now. My starting attackers are Saka, Jota, Rodgers, Eze, Wood, Pedro, and Haaland. Aside from Haaland, who should I captain? Personally, I do think Haaland is the captain here. I don't think there's any other ones. I think in terms of your vice captain, it's probably going to be... I think reluctantly, I would just say Eze as your vice captain, because I'm not sure how many minutes Jota is going to play. I don't know whether later down the line we'll get a Jota leak, but Saka has a pretty tough fixture. I mean, Wood has a pretty tough fixture in that it's an away fixture. Pedro, we don't know if he's going to start. So yeah, I think I would take the opportunity here and just vice captain Eze in this instance. But the team's looking pretty good. Obviously, stay tuned to some Jota leaks, and we can try and manage the situation as well if we get the news later down the line. All right. Another thing that I'll have to do, sorry, is that I just need to double check in terms of some of my leaks. I'm also planning to. I also need to submit my SKLW team as well. So I do apologize, but some admin work needs to be done for myself. All right, sorry about that. That's done now. Monks, thank you so much for the super chat. Let me see. So you've got a back three. You got three free transfers with Game Week 6 wildcard. Haaland, Saka, with a Game Week 6 wildcard in mind. Okay, Haaland, Saka, ESR to Watkins. Whoa, you can go Watkins, Salah, and Son? Have to start JP and Rogers. I think that's fine. Or Isak, Saka, and Munoz to Vardy, Salah, and Porro. I don't know if I would use the three transfers like that. I think what I would still like to do is some sort of move to Saka to Salah at the bare minimum. I wonder, could you not do something similar to myself, right? Where you're just using 2 free transfers, going out of Saka, going into Salah, and then maybe downgrading Isak to someone else. I think that's the best play because, yes, of course, Watkins and Son are absolutely incredible for this game week. And to be fair, that's an incredible set of moves. But you're also going to lose the team value in Haaland. So one thing that I would throw back to you, Monks, is are you willing to lose the 2 price rises on Haaland if you start with Haaland? If you own Haaland at 15.2, maybe that's a little bit of a different story. But do let me know. Both Fantasy Football Hub and Fantasy Football Scout do not reckon Bailey will start. And if he doesn't start, do you think it is because Ramsey's preferred, or do you think it's because of fitness? I reckon it's probably just due to a bit of both, right? I mean, Ramsey actually played really well within the last Champions League match, and I guess Bailey's out of fitness as well. So yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I need to quickly have a look at some of the predicted lineups for Villa to maybe try and assist you with that decision. So let's just quickly have a look now. So what is FPL Villain cooking? Yeah, I mean, FPL Villain seems to be also predicting actually a Bailey bench. So it seems like probably mostly form related, I would say. Ramsey's played really well. So yeah, I think that seems to be the case. A really good tool for looking at predicted lineups, by the way, is Jump the Wave by Emma. So let's just quickly have a look at that together. So there's a page called Jump the Wave. If I can actually spell. So this is the page, Jump the Wave, and she tries to always share predicted lineups. Now, obviously, look, wisdom of the crowd isn't necessarily always the best, if you want to put it like that, but there are predicted lineups for teams like Aston Villa, and you can kind of have a look at, for example, look at someone like Bailey, and you can see that no one predicts him to start at all within all the predictors. So I guess that there's probably around 10 plus predictors here, and no one's predicting Bailey to start. This is a pretty useful tool, I would say, because it kind of gives you a feel of how many people are voting towards a certain direction. So here with Brighton, for example, quite a few people still think that João Pedro could start, etc., etc. So yeah, Pretty useful tool. And I'll go back to my FPL team now. All right. Hi, Fran. Hi, F-ish. Thoughts on bench boost with Flecken, Pedro, Konsa, Lewis on bench? I mean, Flecken's versus Tottenham. Pedro has a decent game. Could start. Konsa, Lewis. Okay, so that's probably around 4 points. Pedro. Flecken's probably around 3 points something. Pedro probably like... Ugh. I mean, could be a 4 actually if he starts. Let's say 8, 11, Lewis... Lewis could actually be benched, by the way. Lewis could be benched. I think I wouldn't bench boost it. It looks like a 12-13 pointer of a bench boost just because there's a little bit of unavailability, right? First of all, Flecken has a poor fixture. Lewis is someone who unfortunately might be benched, I feel, due to the matchup. João Pedro might be either a start or a bench, so you're taking some risks on board. Konsa's really good. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice bench, I have to say, for this week, but is it bench boost worthy? Probably not. Based on Maresca's statement, Robert says, do you think Jackson will be the nailed striker for them going forwards? Last game, he looks like the epitome of their attacking, but no returns. I mean, he's going to be... I think that's what we felt about Jackson multiple weeks ago. But actually, I think one key point to mention is that you shouldn't just be looking at Jackson as a nailed player for starting every game. It's actually quite important to try and consider how many minutes is Jackson starting every single week. Because if Nkunku is playing very well as a sub, I imagine that some of the games, of course, that he'll be taking really good, considerable minutes away from Jackson, which means that devalues Jackson as a player. So I remember when I went on FPL therapy, I was a bit low on Jackson because of the minutes. And I think that will still stand true because Jackson, unfortunately, is someone who doesn't take penalties either. Gareth says Son is 0.73% in the FF Scout captain poll. That feels low, but then I also feel maybe a lot of people own Salah. I personally would captain Son over Haaland quite easily. I would also do Watkins over Haaland too. Charlie says Solanke and Bowen or Watkins and Kudush, can you make a wildcard 5? I would probably go Solanke and Bowen. Simply because Solanke and Bowen have better minutes between the two of them, right? Kudush is someone who actually has really poor underlying stats. Watkins, we still know that there's a little bit of uncertainty with some of his minutes going forwards, and Duran's probably going to take some minutes too. But it seems like maybe Duran and Watkins can start together. I think I generally just would go Solanke and Bowen, I would say, though. Because Solanke seems like a really good long-term pick. Like, the actual extended run of games on game week 8 plus for Solanke is just incredible, and for Spurs. So yeah, start Raya and Gabriel or Raya and Aina. I'd probably go Raya and Aina. Do I captain Haaland or Diaz? I would definitely captain Haaland in this case, because with Diaz you don't know whether, first of all, he's benched, or second of all, he's even going to play beyond 70 minutes, which actually isn't very much. Hello Fran, bench Gabriel or Pau Torres? I'd probably bench Gabriel. Quite simply, BL. Who'd I bench out of Robinson, Lewis, or Livramento? I think I would definitely play either Lewis or Robinson in this case. Because I really wouldn't want to play, let's say, a pretty poor defense in terms of Newcastle and then away from home. So I would actually just back Robinson or Lewis. I would probably go Robinson for safety, but if you feel like you can try and cheese a Lewis start, if you really think Lewis is going to start, then you can do that. In terms of doubling up on the question, do you think Timber will see at least 65 minutes in the current Arsenal lineup? I mean, I think that the thing with Timber, right, is that they're going to be involved in the Champions League as well and some cup matches. So I guess the thing is it always going to be the case that Timber's going to play 65 plus minutes of every match? I don't think so necessarily, but on the current current basis, it seems like Timber is that sort of player. But Calafiori is clearly going to take away minutes from him, and Zinchenko's injured as well. So I feel like they've got way too much depth in the left back for him to perpetually play 65 minutes a game, which is why I'm a little bit low on Timber. General advice on how to gain value in a wildcard. Yeah, I mean, so one of the tricks, actually, if you're planning to wildcard in game week 6, don't press wildcard immediately after the deadline. What you should do is actually make transfers as if you were taking hits, and then actually activate the wildcard at the end of the game week so that you can basically remove the hits, but then your buys and your sells actually count as a non-wildcard buying and sell. or non-wildcard buys and sells. I hope that makes sense. Start João Pedro, Gabriel. I'd definitely start João Pedro. Who should I put, Winks or Robinson's first bench? Probably Robinson. Can you name some essential players for wildcard 6? I mean, I don't think anyone's essential per se always, but I think Calvert-Lewin might... I don't know if he's essential. I'd say Gabriel is essential. I'd say triple Arsenal is essential, so Saka's essential. It would, yeah. In the midfield, maybe like Semenyo. Semenyo could be that. And Mbumo's definitely essential. Sorry, not. I wouldn't say Semenyo's essential. I think he's an option, but definitely Mbumo's essential. Maybe another Brentford defender could be close to essential, but those are the sorts of players. And I think the rest of the team can sort of make itself up, because you can either choose to go Haaland plus, let's say, DCL, or you can drop Haaland on wildcard 6, which some people are actually going to do, by the way. I know it sounds crazy, but they will, and I think that's fine. You could obviously just go Havertz plus Solanke plus João Pedro, these sorts of picks. Why are you staring into my soul like that? Okay. Start Rodgers or Madueke? I'd probably start Rodgers. To start Robinson or Dunk this game week, I'd probably start Dunk. Thoughts on Liam Delap? I mean, he's actually an interesting pick for sure. And the Ipswich 100 games is decent. I guess my concern with Liam Delap is probably just from a mostly minutes perspective, right? Because it's not like he's an out-and-out 90-minute player this season. So he's only played 300 minutes so far. Some games he plays 58 minutes. Some games he plays like 82 minutes. So I do think that he's not that interesting for me on that basis. So yeah, not that enthused, I suppose, by Liam Delap. Start João Pedro or Eze. I'd probably start Eze. DCL's fine for today. It seems like DCL's fine. He was training yesterday, is the news. Can you explain again about the wildcard button, when to press and whatnot? So, I mean, if you want to sort of force, I guess, price rises and price falls, it actually makes a lot more sense to actually press the wildcard button before the end of the Game Week 6 deadline, as opposed to immediately after the Game Week 5 deadline, is all I was trying to say. There's no real tricks. I think, stay monitored to price change websites like FPL Hub or Fantasy Football Hub, and also this FPL Stats. So look at both, I would say, and sort of consider, price changes from that perspective. Thoughts on doing the same move with adding in Salah and Vardy for -4? I personally would not do it for -4. I think I would rather do Saka to Son for -4 if I was going to go for a Game Week 6. Armstrong starts, I'm not sure. Allison is playing. I don't know, but actually we should be getting Liverpool leaks today, so I wouldn't be too worried, hopefully. If you don't have Salah, who'd you captain? Is Jota a good captain pick? I don't think so. Within my own team, I would just captain Haaland. FPL City, thank you for the super chat. Lewis or Robinson, start 2. Mbumo, Smith or Rodgers. I would definitely do Mbumo, Rodgers. And for Lewis and Robinson, what I would probably say is, do you think Lewis actually starts? I'd probably go... I think it's close to a 50-50, because I don't really rate Fulham defense that much, but Lewis... I think that Lewis is either going to play maybe 90 minutes or 0, and I think that was based off of the experience and really the know-how of Luke from Twitter. So if you've ever found him, I think I would still take the risk, I would say, in maybe Lewis starting, or at least not sort of featuring within the game. So I'd probably go Lewis. But if you just want safety, you don't want any risks involved with minutes this game week, I would just go for Robinson. Son over Palmer as a captaincy choice, I think it's pretty close, but I would go Son. Yeah, I prefer my home fixtures. No playing goalkeeper. I suppose that's Allison. Would you take a -4 to get one in? Anyone worth it wildcarding next week? I don't think any... Well, to be fair, I don't think it's worth the -4. Yeah, I don't think it's worth the -4. You could honestly consider wildcarding this week, though, if you don't have a goalkeeper, because like, unfortunately, not having a playing goalkeeper in a non-double game week, so basically a single, is a huge issue, in the sense that it's worth around 4 points minimum, and it's very hard to claw back those 4 points, because all you're going to do if you bring in another goalkeeper is really set a baseline threshold of 2. Realistically, your average is going to be around your expected value sort of average is around 3, and it's just a net loss. So sometimes that is so significant that I would actually consider a wildcard. Would you transfer Jackson out for Solanke? No, I don't think so. It's a good fixture for Solanke, but keep in mind, of course, Solanke's fixtures don't really get amazing until game week 8, and I don't think necessarily Jackson's worth a transfer out. I think Jackson still starts this week. Should I start Mbumo, Evan Nilsson, or I would definitely start Mbumo, for sure, especially over Gabriel too. Good morning, Fad. Hope you're doing well. And Philip Hansen, hope you're doing well. Good morning as well. A couple of moderators in the chat. Appreciate you guys. I didn't realize they counted differently if wildcard activated. Right? Yeah, they actually do, Henry, because actually they kind of count as regular buys and sells versus wildcard buys and sells. I'm essential on a wildcard. Okay, Kelleher punt on a free transfer. The thing is, we don't even know if Allison's definitely benched, guys. So I don't think it's really worth going for Kelleher. Like, Kelleher sounds not worth it to me. Oh my god, I think I actually haven't managed my draft team. If you guys can excuse me 2 minutes, I need to manage my FPL draft team very, very quickly. I apologize. I apologize. I think I can't play Richards. I mean, De Bruyne's a pretty big risk, so I actually need to probably shop Richards out. This is the optimal viewing experience, guys. Trust me, as they say. I might have to just go Milenkovic in this situation, because I don't know if Richard is going to start, and I don't think Disasi is going to start again because he was pretty awful. Oh my god. Not an ideal situation, actually. Any of these defenders. I think Kadioglu's gone, isn't he? Alright, I'll go Milenkovic. Not ideal, but just to replace Richards in the future. Yeah, okay, fine. And then I definitely play Adama over Milenkovic. Okay, so that's done. Alright, moving on to my other team. Alright, Duran's incredible. I don't know if I don't actually know if Darwin's going to start. I mean, I think this is the right team to play. But maybe Duran's... I mean, I guess Kevin might not play, so... Maybe I'll keep it like that, and then Duran's my first sub. Ugh, I do want to play Duran, though. I don't even know if Darwin's going to start. Well, I'll remember that. Anyways, back to my FPL team. Okay, so... Sorry about that. All right, so Notorious, Razul, thank you. Hope you're doing well. Really appreciate seeing you around again. I also know that there's another super chat from Naz. I'll have a look in a moment. But sorry, Razul, your super chat was basically hope I'm enjoying my vacation. I'm actually back home now, but I did really enjoy it. I loved it. Start Bernardo Silva or Konsa? Good question. I mean, Bernardo played the Champions League game. De Bruyne's... I think start Bernardo. Start Bernardo. It's close, but I would start Bernardo. Naz, love your content. Start Rogers or Minter Welbeck. I think I would choose Welbeck, my friend. Because I guess with Welbeck, you know, there's a minimum expectation that if João Pedro doesn't play, he'll get penalties, which it'll be a boost for you. With Minte, I think there's a small chance he actually gets benched. With Welbeck, I don't think he's getting benched at all. I do think the safest pick is Rogers in terms of minutes, right? So there's that thing to add. But if, let's say, there's a small unavailability with João Pedro, Naz, I would probably take the chance there with Welbeck. You know, him being on penalties potentially. Even still, it's a home fixture. But yeah, Rogers has the best fixture, in my opinion, particularly given that they're playing versus Wolves. So I do think he's a safer pick, but there could be a little bit more upside ultimately with going Welbeck. So I appreciate the super chat from the both of you. Will Alisson play? I don't have Liverpool leaks. I think let's just wait for Liverpool or Anfield Insights to actually give us a little bit of information on that. Can you make a wildcard team, please? Are you talking about wildcard 5, Caden? Why Vardy and not Dominic Calvert-Lewin? I prefer Dominic Calvert-Lewin for the long term, but I actually just think within a home fixture this week, I would rather just go Vardy, and that's pretty much why I'm on Vardy. Because it's just a one-game week punt. No real like serious answer. Start Eze, Pedro, Madueke. I think I would start Eze. Start Pedro, Havertz. I would probably start Pedro still. Is Salah in for a hit worth it? I don't think so. I think Son is right there for a lot of people who actually, you know, can't go towards Salah for 2 free transfers. Still unsure in your wild card between Colwill, Dean, or Lewis. I mean, Colwill is obviously like the safety pick, the safety net of a pick, I suppose, right? Frederick, I do think that with Dean, maybe the boat's sort of gone, because I do think that, yeah, the minutes, like Cash is coming back soon. Matson's definitely just nailed in as a penciled in sub. I probably would go Lewis in my circumstance, but you know, I wouldn't go Lewis with a view to playing him this week at least. Madueke, Rogers, I think I'd go Rogers. Start 2 of Gabriel, Lewis, Robinson. I'd probably do Lewis and Robinson. Good evening from Australia. Nice to see you around, John. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you being here. Is it worth taking a hit to get rid of Isak if you have a weak bench? I don't think it's worth I don't think it's really worth a hit personally. Because I guess if you're taking a hit, then yeah, it's not worth it. I think most people think that Isak will still start potentially, so it's not really worth it. Why am I starting Vardy over CVL? Who's CVL? Do you mean Dominic Calvert-Lewin? I mean, I just think it's a home fixture for Leicester. It's a good game on paper, one of the better ones, right? Considering how poor Everton look so far. And I mean, they've had issues, right? Everton, like in terms of squad depth, in terms of illnesses, etc. So why not just take the chance in Vardy for 1 game week and then just wildcard? Hello, Fran. Lewis, Greaves, or Konsa for the last defender spot? Fran, cheers. I think I would just play Konsa for sure. Pavi. Robert T says, would you have Semenyo or FaZe be first on bench in case João Pedro doesn't play at all? I think I would just play Semenyo personally, because Semenyo is an attacker, right? So you're always going to get some value there. I tend to think even, yeah. I mean, obviously, FaZe is a really good fixture, so maybe it's close, to be honest. Maybe it's close enough where maybe you just go for FaZe and you kind of hope that Everton run dry, if that makes sense. We obviously don't have much confidence in Leicester, let's be honest. But I think it's a decent opportunity to maybe just go FaZe. Yeah. I will say, though, that ultimately there's not many instances where you would bench Semenyo over him, but I think it's super close as a decision. Like, I think you just go with your gut, basically. Like, do you think Everton will score versus do you think Semenyo will get something versus Liverpool? Some of the sort of additional decision-making factors would be like, do you have, I don't know, Everton players in your team? Therefore, do you want to kind of like, do you hope that Leicester will lose that clean sheet? Do you have Liverpool defenders on your team, and therefore do you hope that Semenyo also blank? So I think that can have a small, like, decision making in terms of outcomes is better in that instance, because actually FaZe and Semenyo are so close as players. I would actually just go and try and maximize on the potential outcome for your FPL team, right? In this instance, because I think, as I said, it's super close. J Pups, you're starting Rodgers, benching Haaland. J Pups, why are we doing this? J Pups, J Pups, J Pups, put Haaland back in your team. What are you doing now? What are you doing now? You're not doing that. You're not doing that. Please don't. Don't put back. Don't. There were. I can understand starting Rodgers. I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't start him over Haaland. In fact, I definitely wouldn't. But you must have someone else in your team that you can bench for Haaland. I refuse to hear it. I think if I look at my own FPL team right now, right, I would bench Rodgers, Bruno, Eze, João Pedro for sure to get Haaland, Vardy as well, and all my defenders except for maybe Trent would also get benched. That's basically how I think about Haaland this week. There's only one player in my team right now that I actually think is better, which is why he's my vice, which makes sense. But please do not bench him. I'm not saying this because, like, if you didn't own Haaland, J-Pups, I wouldn't mind that at all. But I'm just saying that if you own Haaland, I wouldn't be benching him. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Haaland is essential. Chisel Planet member for 12 months. Thank you so much. Robinson or Lewis to start. I think I've sort of discussed this a little bit previously, and thank you so much for being a member for 12 months, as well as being just an absolute legend on the channel. But I would say you can take obviously with my expectations of Fulham defense, the clean sheet odds are much worse. But Lewis, there's a pretty high chance that he doesn't start at all. And maybe there's a world where Lewis is just simply a 0 or 90-minute player. So maybe it's actually fine in that instance. I would still take the opportunity, though, and probably just play Robinson for safety if you don't have a strong bench. But generally, I think Lewis is the one that I would try. Like, if you're a bit of a gambler, I would go Lewis, because better clean sheet odds. If he miraculously starts versus a team like Arsenal, then you're kind of in the money, I would say. Thank you, Fran. If Rodgers doesn't start racking up returns next 2 game weeks, do you think it's worth going into Amad Diallo? I mean, the issue with Amad Diallo, right, Robert, is that ultimately it seems like Amad Diallo might be the player who's actually going to lose minutes over the next 2 game weeks, because if Garnacho and Rashford are playing well and Højlund is coming back into the team, there's actually much less opportunities for Amad Diallo to actually get consistent minutes going forward. So I don't think, it makes sense, basically. I think you actually need to move out of that entire tier of budget. J-Wave says, obviously you can't see my team, but is there any better wildcard opportunities outside of wildcard 6? Absolutely. I think, some managers like delaying the wildcard perpetually, and I think that's fine. Some people like doing really, really late wildcards, right? Because you never know. I don't understand what's going to happen between, let's say, game weeks 12 plus, because it's so far away. So clearly, you could look at game week 12 as a wildcard. You could look at game week 8 as a wildcard. I think it's nice because that's an international break. And then actually, you might actually go for a wildcard super late. So if you, let's say, have some more Liverpool assets as well, wildcard 7 is quite interesting, because I only have 2 Liverpool assets, but I can understand some people actually planning to go for, let's say, a wildcard 7, because they're so stacked into Liverpool and they already own some Arsenal assets that it actually makes sense to go for wildcard 7 instead. Wildcard 8, though, I think is quite strong in terms of that sort of swing between moving into really good Spurs fixtures is absolutely there and present on wildcard 8. Is Kwanzaa ever playing again? I don't think. I mean, look, Konate has a serious injury history. I think Kwanzaa comes back in if Konate's injured. But for now, yeah, no. J Pups, you're giving me your team. I think. Did you delete the message? Marek Bosch as well. Thank you for the super chat. Eze or Trent captain? Going bold, don't have Salah. I would go Trent personally. I'd probably go Trent. Super close decision, but I just think that, I don't see Eze taking the next penalty. Why not take a chance on Trent if you're going to do that? You wildcarded this week. Is Dean worth including? Any other less than 5? I don't love Dean that much, because I do tend to think that his minutes in the medium term won't be that good. So yeah, I'm not really, like pro Dean, if that makes sense. Salah, thank you for your super chat as well. Hendo, Virgil van Dijk, Konsa, Romero, Eze, Jota, Son, Rodgers, Son captain, very nice. Rodgers, João Pedro, Haaland, Isak, subs. Thinking of JP to DCL or Isak to Watkins. I think Isak to Watkins is the move, 100%. 100% that's the move. Because João Pedro could very well play, and actually if João Pedro starts, I think he's actually better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Vardy potentially. So yeah, I would take that chance. Hello from Ukraine, Fran. Thank you, Alexi. Hope you're doing well, and best of luck to you from London. You're Captain Mateta. Are you crazy? I think you're a little bit crazy, but crazy works sometimes. Hey, Fran, start Semenyo, Phase, or Greaves. I think I'd probably start Greaves. Because I just think out of all the teams so far, I've been pretty impressed with Ipswich. Would you start Bailey over João Pedro? No, because it seems like Bailey's actually going to be on the bench, I would say. Tropical Vibes, Monique, Isak to DCL Solanke, already have Salah. I think that's fine. Those are good moves. Very strong moves, actually. Tropical Vibes. Super strong moves. Why not roll the transfer since we can roll transfers with wildcards? Because I just simply think that the moves that I'm making this week are worth more than 5 FPL points, respectively, right? If I roll the transfer, then I might as well not wildcard at all, because I've got Saka. I can move into someone else. I can move in, like, with 3 transfers next week with this team. If you send this team to game week 6, why would I need to wildcard at all? Doesn't make any sense to me. However, this team, when it had Saka versus Man City and Isak with a doubt, wasn't exactly very good, I would say, on paper. Mostly because I have 2 doubts in my team with João Pedro and Isak, right? And I don't necessarily want to go deep into Konsa plus Lewis this game week. And if there's ever a situation like, for example, this week, I think Haaland is actually far short of Salah as a captaincy, right? I think there's probably, in terms of expected points, probably 2 expected points between Haaland and Salah. So if I captain Salah, clearly that's a 4-point gap. If I think Salah's better than Saka as well, that's another point gap as well. And then the question is going to be Vardy versus Isak. What's the difference? And actually, I don't think there's much of a difference this week between Vardy and Isak because of the doubt of Isak. So as a result, I'm gaining probably bare minimum, what I would say is 5 points. So by rolling the free transfers, I think I'm just leaving my team 5 points worse. And then you need to probably ask yourself, how much is a free transfer worth? Is a free transfer worth more than 2.5 FPL points for you? If that's the case, then that's fine. Then maybe you roll. But I don't see any situation where I would be rolling this week if I'm going to plan a wildcard 6. And that's pretty much my thoughts. Sometimes, of course, if let's say my team was perfect, like, I don't know, let's say I had Salah instead this week, then of course I'm rolling my team. But if my team is very weak this game week, then why not maximize it? If I think that I can make my transfers, like if each transfer I make this week is going to get me an additional 2.5 points, then I think that's much better than what I expect to be the free transfer sort of value, which is like maybe 2 point something at the end of the day. And I think this is a good chance to also get a little bit more upside, because who knows, Vardy could play 90 minutes, probably not. But Isak might be missing out, which would sort of make my calculation much worse. And then ultimately, when I wildcard on game week 6, I hopefully move into a team that doesn't have any issues, and then I can finally start to roll my transfers. But simply rolling the transfers to roll the transfers doesn't make any sense to me. Chisel Pie, thank you so much for gifting 5 FPL Fran memberships. Dan, FPL Uproar, Shamil, Lloyd, and Uche. Congratulations. Please thank Chisel Planet for your memberships. Thank you. Why Pedro for Konsa? Just because I think Pedro might start, and that's pretty much it. Saka and Havertz, who got 0 blank in the bank and wildcard next week. That could be fun. Thoughts on Solanke instead of... yeah, I think Solanke is better than Vardy for this game week. 100%. Would you bench Foden or Smith Rowe? I would bench Smith Rowe. Watkins or Son captain? I would personally go Son captain, but I think if you go Watkins, it's totally fine. Will you keep Vardy in the wild card? Probably not. I would probably go Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Is Vandenberg Brentford nailed? I don't think so. I think Vandenberg gets benched in some formations. I think Collins right now is sort of taking that spot ahead of him in a back 4. In a back 5, it seems like he's nailed, but clearly if he's not nailed in a back 4, that's a problem. Pinnock is the one who I would say is absolutely nailed. Wood or Smith Rowe this game week? I would probably play Wood. Guys, don't send 100 attention-seeking emojis. True. Bench 1, Guardiola, Konsa, Robinson. I'd probably bench Robinson. Who's essential for a Game Week 5 wildcard? Game Week 5, huh? I mean, I guess Dominic Calvert-Lewin's essential. Some of the Spurs assets might be essential, like Porro, like maybe Solanke if you want to go there. I don't think anyone's essential per se. You don't even necessarily need to go Haaland, but that's up to you. You could be going Watkins. I just think that ultimately there's a lot of picks that are very strong. Like I can just tell you picks that I think are strong for this game week, and then you can basically, I guess, get back to me. Like I think Mbeumo is definitely going to be on a Game Week 5 wildcard no matter what. I think Salah is probably on a wild card in Game Week 5 just because he's such a strong captaincy. You can shift off of him later, and you very well might just actually captain Salah in Game Week 6, which means that you can probably shift off of Salah on Game Week 7 instead. So I think, yeah, on a Game Week 5 wildcard, I think I would probably go for a Haaland plus Salah structure, which means that you would kind of forego Palmer, unfortunately, and maybe maybe you'd forego Saka as well. Maybe you would actually go Saka as a transfer in game week 7 potentially. I think that could work out quite well, as in planning Salah to Saka, and maybe you delay the Saka move. Going double Arsenal defense, I think if you can kind of go maybe like Raya plus a cheap goalkeeper like Muric, maybe that could allow you to play it out well. I think Lewis is still reasonably strong as a pick, but then you need to consider whether you want to triple up on Man City in the future. Solanke's strong, I would say. I think Eze is still quite decent because this is a really good game week as well. Some of the picks that I'd consider though would be definitely Bowen as well. If you kind of want to spend money within the midfield, there's always Bowen. I'm not too high on going too much Liverpool within this game week specifically, outside of Salah, just purely for the captaincy aspect. But yeah, I think defense, you could still probably choose one. Like maybe you could actually go Konate on a wild card like this. I don't know. That could work out potentially quite well. Pedro Porro, I think, would definitely be on it. A Man City defender, I think, would be on it. And then maybe if you can bench an Arsenal defender as a result of that, that could be worth it, just so that you can, not predate too many moves. And I think that's it. Consider whether you want to go for Haaland or not. And that means obviously maybe going for Solanke, maybe going for Dominic Calvert-Lewin instead, right? Depending on where you're sort of allocating your budget. So those are the kind of players that I think about quite seriously. And I mean, even in terms of the sort of budget 5.x player within the midfield, I mean, Semenyo doesn't have a great fixture this week, but generally he's a good pick, I would say. Sade is actually quite interesting because it seems like he'll start versus Tottenham. So he could be one. In terms of Rodgers, like he could still be on a game week 5 wildcard, but I wouldn't say he's essential. All right, sorry, I missed a couple super chats for sure. J Pup says Haaland. You're telling me Haaland is worse than... All right, let me read this. Haaland is worse than Rodgers, Salah, Eze, Diaz, and Bouma, Welbeck, JP. Okay, fair. I think I'd probably bench either Diaz or Welbeck in that situation. I think is probably what I would do. But if João Pedro's out, Welbeck's immediately the clear option. And actually, maybe Luis Diaz is the bench option there. Actually, I'm going to quickly check if we have any Liverpool leaks whatsoever, because that could be helpful. Christopher, bench Consa versus Fulham or Burn versus Wolves? I would definitely bench Burn, because Burn is away from home, right? We've talked about this before, but my friend Schadenfreudist, and also have a look at my FPL podcast, FPL Script. So if you're interested in analytics, we go very, very deep into analytics on the FPL Script YouTube channel. So you can find us at FPL Script. I believe. Is the channel, but generally speaking, right, the reason why I say that is because if you sort of buy into analytics, what my friend did is he did a study of home and away fixtures a couple years ago for seasons before, when fans were in the stadium before COVID. So he did a study during COVID, which was looking at the games before COVID, looking at the impact of home and away, and generally there's a huge impact in home and away. So you can imagine that there's like a 5% advantage for playing at home, which also means that there's a 5% disadvantage for playing away. So net impact is around 10%, which is very significant actually. So yeah, whenever you have instances where you have close picks and the fixtures look good on paper, you kind of need to actually separate between whether the fixture is home and away all the time, which is what I always do. So yeah, in this instance here, Constance versus a very, very weak Wolves team. I know Aston Villa isn't like some sort of stellar defense, but let's be honest, neither are Newcastle. I think Newcastle probably could be inferior. So yeah, I mean, with the context that Fulham are probably a similar level offense as Wolves, I would clearly say that benching Burn makes a lot more sense than benching Konsa, because one person's at home, the other person's away from home. But yeah, have a look at the podcast as well if you're interested in a little bit more of a deep dive for analytics. All right, back to some questions from the members. Julian says, hey, just curious as to why you chose Vardy over similar options such as Wood, Welbeck, DCL. So, Julian, I think the key point is mentioning that this is a one-game week pick, right? Vardy's at home, Welbeck is as well, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's away from home, Wood is away from home. I think Wood is playing versus the strongest team here in terms of Brighton, so I don't like the matchup. In terms of Welbeck, I think Welbeck is strengthened if João Pedro's in the team, but clearly I own João Pedro in the team. I want him to start, which means that I think that takes away penalties from Welbeck this week, is sort of my logical thinking. But in terms of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, as I've already mentioned within the chat, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is much better in the medium to long term. So that's that. The big difference, though, is I'm just going for Vardy for a one-game week punt. He's at home here in this instance. I think it's still slightly a better fixture for him, even if Edouard can come in. And keep in mind that Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't trained too much. So maybe there's a world where Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets subbed off a little bit earlier because he was struggling with illness early in the week. So I think both of them could have their minutes managed. So in that instance, I'm just going for a one-game week pick. Does Dominic Calvert-Lewin start? I think he does. Chisel Planet mentioning sort of moderator stuff. Caleb also has a question. He says, hey, Fran, I have Muniz and Isak. Who would you prioritize out? We already have Watkins, one free transfer. I would take Muniz out because I think Isak is either going to start or be benched. With Muniz, he's probably going to play 15 minutes. I wouldn't take a -4. Ooh, what? You want a free transfer? Oh, yeah. I would just go Muniz to Dominic Calvert-Lewin because unless you're doing the same thing as me, which is basically wildcarding immediately, I would definitely take the opportunity to actually just go out of Muniz and just go into someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I myself am wildcarding though next week, so that's why I'm going for the Vardy punt. Hello Vijay and Nigel the Crab, hope you guys are doing well. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Julian. Bench Robinson or Dunk, Human97 says. I would probably bench Robinson. I think Dunk is immediately the play in that situation. Fahad says he's taking a hit with going with Guardiola to Robertson and Isak to Watkins. I don't think it's really a great move personally because, I mean, to be honest, it could actually pay off, especially if Isak's benched. So if you want to take the hit, I think it's close. And I think it's still a strong move in terms of you're upgrading two players, certainly. Rana Joy says, sorry, a little late to the party. Maybe you have already answered. Are you planning wildcard 6 or 8? Definitely wildcard 6 and Al-Madrid as well. Duran for Wisa. I don't really think Duran for Wisa makes too much sense because I'm not sure if Duran starts today, if I'm honest. DCL gang here. Yeah, as I said, for the medium to long term, I much prefer Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Also, let's do a captaincy poll. Because people going Palmer, people going Watkins, people going Son, people going Salah, I think it's perfectly fine this week. There's absolutely no reason to captain Haaland. So let's do a captaincy poll. I think I'm just going to have... Saka or Gabriel? I would play Saka personally. Start Rico Lewis, João Pedro, Greaves. I'd probably play Greaves. Worth looking at Forest assets given their recent form, possibly Wood slash Aina and or nailed midfield. Absolutely. I think starting from game week 6, we're going to reconsider some of these Nottingham Forest assets, right? We're going to reconsider someone like Oli Aina, definitely. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Shamil says he doesn't have Salah. That's fine. By the way, if you guys don't own Salah, you don't own Haaland on any particular game week, that is fine. I know it was really tough last week without Haaland, but the reality is I don't think that teams that don't have Haaland are bad at all. Like, I think if you've gone for a Salah-only team that has, Saka and Palmer, the likes of those players, and they blanked last week, that's an aberration. You shouldn't be super upset in terms of thinking that your team absolutely needs to be railroaded back into Haaland. Those are not my thoughts whatsoever. So, yeah. Hey, Fran, Was your cheat sheet with any wildcards in mind? No, my cheat sheet is always going to be taking into account the medium to long term. So it's definitely not, built for my own game week 6. When I do my cheat sheet videos, I definitely think about at least 5 to 8 game weeks, but I show you guys 3 game weeks because that's sort of when you want to sort of move into a player, right? You want to move it into immediately the upside, if that makes sense. So obviously, if someone has really good fixtures between game weeks 5 and 8 within the distance, like it's not really going to be a substantial movement within the cheat sheet, but I'm taking that into account in my own mind. Definitely. So I definitely think about medium to the long term, but I think about it in terms of like a decade approach, right? So I think about, let's say, a game week 4 to 5 game weeks away is much less important than a game week 1 to 2 game weeks away. All right, I'm going to close the captaincy poll. So in the end, Salah won. Seems like a lot of people are going for Haaland and Palmer as well, which I would consider within other, which I think is totally fair. Andre says, start Rodgers or Isak, or swap Isak and buy DCL. I think I would probably go... I think I'd definitely start Rodgers. I'd probably go Isak to DCL if you don't have enough bench safety. I don't think it's necessarily worth a transfer if you have a strong bench, but if you don't have a strong bench, then I would definitely look at it. Take a hit for Minte? Probably not. You're still not convinced on Rodgers or Palmer personally. I mean, I think, one interesting thing, Nigel, is a little, I mean, let's just see how Palmer operates, I guess, going forward. Because I think Palmer's still a great asset, and I really have no concerns with him personally. But I mean, I don't have Palmer within my own team, and it's not like I'm super happy without Palmer. I think Rodgers is a very strong pick, but ultimately Aston Villa's run of games is coming to a close, like within the near future, and ultimately he hasn't delivered anything. So of course, when the games get a little bit worse, then Rodgers becomes just naturally worse as an asset. So there's a bit of a mixed bag there, I suppose. Like if you think about it, if let's say we come, like we've already come through basically some amazing fixtures, right? We've come through Leicester, Everton. And if we go past Wolves, then obviously after that, Rodgers, generally, like the run of games is still decent, but it's not like, you have to go into them, because if you're planning, let's say, a wildcard next week, then you have to take into account that the fixtures do get pretty poor between, let's say, game weeks 10 to, I don't know, like 13 maybe, for Aston Villa. So those are kind of important swings, I guess. As far as, let's say, a Palmer, I think he's still an amazing pick. And it really just depends on whether, you have a preference for someone like Haaland. Because I think more often than not, I find that most Haaland, like sort of most non-Haaland teams definitely have sort of backed Palmer against him. Not necessarily like one-on-one, but obviously Palmer plus, whatever the surplus cash actually gives you within a team structure. And that could still pay off in future game weeks, right? Because last week, obviously, Haaland owners, quote unquote, won. But that things change very quickly in FPL. I have no concerns really with Palmer as a pick. But what we can monitor, what we can monitor, of course, is like how Palmer's underlying stats are tracking, I guess, under Maresca compared to what they were like in a previous season, right? Like under Poch. Because I think the big thing that I can mention so far is that, we don't really have enough sample size. But clearly last season, Chelsea in open play with Palmer, he was probably a little bit more an efficacious pick so far than Palmer this season, but we've only had 4 game weeks of information, so it's not really like a good indication of anything, I would say. And Palmer still looks like an incredible pick, and that's all I have to say. Shamil says João Pedro. Who would you start, João Pedro and Mbumo? I would actually start Mbumo. Because there's no doubts with Mbumo. He's going to play 90 minutes. I would go for Mbumo. Did you mean I shouldn't go with a hit, Fahad? I probably wouldn't suggest the hit, Fahad, but actually I said that if you don't have a strong bench, then maybe you can actually go for the hit. Because, of course, if Isak is suddenly out and we don't have news that Isak is out, then, of course, the hit would have been worth it, right? So I think consider the strength of your bench first, Fahad, if you want to take the hit, and take the hit if you don't have a strong bench. By the way, guys, I need to be right back for a second. Just quickly going to the bathroom, but I'll be back in literally like, let's say 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Chiseled. Okay, sorry. Have I missed something? Super chats. Let's see. Andre, start Rogers or Isak, or swap Isak and buy DCL. Personally, I would buy DCL if you're kind of looking towards the medium to long term. So if you're not planning to wildcard anytime soon, I think DCL is like a super strong pick. And it comes down to the bench, right? But I think I would probably just start. I would probably just start Rogers this week. If you kind of have uncertainty over Isak. But because you actually have Rogers as a bench option, I don't think, like, let's say making a transfer is absolutely essential at all. I think I'd rather actually just have Isak starting and then actually have Rogers on the bench, if that makes sense. Because if Isak doesn't play, if he's ruled out, Rogers is just simply an amazing bench option. So I think I'd be very happy with that. Palmer captain over Salah. Thoughts? Nah, I think I much prefer Salah. I mean, ultimately Salah's at, he's got a home fixture. There's a pretty historic, I guess, good matchup there between Bournemouth as well. If you really want to buy into that narrative, I don't think that's too significant. But Liverpool, for the most part, have looked good this season. I think Salah is definitely the one for me. Evan Nelson's the penalty taker for Bournemouth? Not necessarily, because Iraola mentioned that Kluivert is also a penalty taker for the team. And, after missing a penalty, that could change. Why DCL not good transfer if you wildcard 6? I think DCL is just not a good transfer if you wildcard 6, because technically if you have Rogers at the back of your bench, then you don't really need to force that transfer. Whereas, for example, with my circumstance, the reason why I needed to go out of Isak into Vardy is simply because I could get Salah. But if you're just trying to get rid of Isak simply to just get DCL for one game week, I don't think that's really worth it. Like, I would roll in that circumstance. Alfred Peterson, thank you so much for the super chat. I can't see a message necessarily, Alfred, but if you can type out a message, I'll try and look out for your name in the future and probably answer your question. Bench Semenyo, Minter, João Pedro. I think I would bench. I'd probably bench Semenyo, I think, just because it's such a poor fixture. Captain Diaz, my view. I don't think Diaz is a great pick because ultimately he's probably going to be playing 60 to 70 minutes. I don't love it so much. You doubt Watkins is the... I also do doubt that Watkins is the penalty taker. I think that Tielemans should be the penalty taker of the team. Because, I mean, like, Tielemans has taken a lot of penalties in his career. So Tielemans has taken 29 penalties in his career. He's missed 5. So he's got an 82% or 83%, if you want to round up, penalty taking rate, which is very, very good. Watkins, I believe, is 5 and 7 or something like that, which is absolutely horrendous. Like 5 over 12. So Watkins has like one of the worst penalty taking records of all time. Sorry, he's only scored 4 and he's actually missed. All right, this page is literally not loading, but that's sad. But yeah, I mean, like, Tielemans just generally is the one that I would go for to back as the Aston Villa penalty taker. Watkins has missed 5, which is still horrendous, by the way, because no one should be missing, like, you're basically missing 56% of your penalties. Like, that's insane. That's insane. The average penalty taker should be scoring a penalty around 78 to 80% of the time. So if you're missing 56% of the time, how far short of the average are you, I guess? And to be fair, he might get better at it over the course of his career, but that's still horrendous. Like, I don't know any active footballer who's taken more than 8 penalties who actually has a sub 50% conversion. He even caused my internet to miss. Fran, if I'm wildcarding next week, I own Bruno and Havertz. Should I take a 1-game punt on transferring one of them out? I'd probably transfer Havertz out if you're going to take a 1-game punt out of one of the 2 players. Tielemans or John Duran. Are we talking about penalties here? I think I would say Tielemans should be on penalties, but who knows? Mahrez is terrible as well. Are we talking penalties? Yeah, I remember there's actually a run of games, remember, when Man City were like taking penalties. And they were really struggling to find a penalty taker. I don't think Mahrez is nearly as bad as Watkins, though. Like, Watkins is, you know, a special kind of bad penalty taker. Mo says start Konsa, Robinson. I'd definitely start Konsa. Archer and Watkins, penalty taker, Hall of Fame. Yeah, but Archer's only taken 1, right? Mahrez has missed 11. Like, see, Mahrez has missed 11, but he still converts penalties literally at like a 74% rate. So Watkins is converting at a 44% rate, which is just like, this is not even close. Happy to send another one. Thank you so much, Alfred. Did you save any free transfers? No, I didn't, Alfred. And the reason simply is because I think if I wanted to save a free transfer, the move that I would have made would have been Saka to Son. But then actually, unfortunately, that also leaves me open to a circumstance where if Isak is missing, then I think my team's a lot worse. So that's kind of why I went for the 2 free transfers. And I do still think that Salah is a very, very strong captaincy pick over Son, which is why I've made 2 free transfers. But yeah, I mean, I'm basically going to wildcard into, or wildcard with 0 free transfers within my team. Palmer or Watkins captain? I would probably, honestly, I'd probably go with a Watkins captaincy over Palmer. It is close though, and I think it depends on your sort of minutes expectation. Maybe I'd actually go Palmer. Because I feel like Watkins, once again, we know that there's some sort of minutes doubts within, right? So maybe it still makes sense to actually simply just go for Watkins instead. I mean, to go for Palmer instead. Will Minte start? I'm uncertain about it, but actually I could have a look at maybe... I think FPL Instinctive is very good for Brighton sort of assessments, so maybe have a look at whether he has made any mention of things. I don't think we have any leaks so far. Apparently, Would you start Robinson or Munoz? I think I'd probably start Robinson. Will Rico Lewis start? I'm unsure. It seems like most people are predicting him to start, but I don't know whether that's true. Chelsea squad update. What do you mean by Chelsea squad update? Vardy or DCL? I think Vardy for this game week, but then medium to long-term DCL for sure. Is Konate good? I think he is good, but then, yeah, I mean, it depends on whether you think he'll not get injured anytime soon. Is Jota likely to start? I think he is, but we'll find out soon if we hopefully get any Liverpool leaks. We have I can't see any leaks so far, by the way, guys. Like literally none. I could try have a look for more. I'm trying to find some leaks, but I can't find anything. So I think the Anfield Insights account hasn't shared any leaks today, unfortunately. So I will keep a close monitor to that account because that's probably the biggest account that I would say. Semenyo Robinson, I would definitely place. I'd probably play Robinson in that case. Team News FPL claims that JP was fully training and is in the squad. How valid is that information? I mean, I think it's quite. I do think that JP will play because he plays on Sunday, so he's got an extra day of training and he sort of missed out on the midweek. I think he's fine. Whereas we know that Isak hasn't been in training at all, but obviously it's his birthday. Blah blah blah. Would you start Konsa or Salib? I definitely would start Konsa. Colin, thank you for the super chat as well. In terms of other chat messages, hi Fran, next week wildcard from Le Luna, definitely wildcarding for myself. Fran is going to regret not going to DCL. Oh, I have no regrets really. I think Vardy's still a good pick for this game week, so I'm happy with it. Frederick says best force defenders. I think Aina is probably the most interesting one, given that he's at 4.4. I mean, Moreno also is at 4.4, I believe, so there's two picks there. Saliba or Munoz, I'd probably go Munoz. Take Muniz out for a -4. Did Isak to Solanke already. I mean, if you don't have a bench this week, then I guess you can take Muniz out for a -4. I don't really recommend it per se. Thank you. Another super chat from Charlie. Let's see. So Robertson and Porro or Virgil van Dijk. So Robertson and Porro or Virgil van Dijk and Robertson on wildcard. I think I would definitely go Porro. We're starting to see Robertson sort of lose minutes. I wonder if you can go Konate and Porro and then maybe make another move. Because I feel like on the wild card, I'm not necessarily sure if I would go for a Liverpool defender. And Robertson, obviously, his minutes can be a bit dicey, especially after this game, right? Because if you think about Robertson, like, are you going to maybe you would actually keep him perpetually, but yeah, there's just generally going to be a run of games, I guess, maybe around game week 8, 9, stroke, that sort of territory, which isn't great for Robertson. But if you think that he'll continue starting, then he's going to be really strong. I just think that maybe you can kind of cheese it a little bit with Konate potentially. Up to you, though. Up to you. I definitely would go Porro, though. So if you have to pick one, I'd go Porro. Dan says, hey, mate, bench one Rodgers, João Pedro, Smith Rowe, Duran. Or Duran, who I did bring in for a fun free transfers. I'm probably doing my wildcard 6. Okay. I'd probably bench Smith Rowe in that situation. I just think Smith Rowe least minutes out of all of those players on paper. So I'd probably bench Smith Rowe. I don't know if Duran's going to start, to be honest. It seems like mostly Aston Villa predictors, I believe, think that Duran might be benched again, unfortunately. But I think if you want to have fun, I'm going to allow you to just play Duran. And I think you plan on playing Duran anyways. And that's going to be Duran off the bench, right? So if you're willing to sort of, take the sacrifice, I guess, of that outcome, then, play Duran over Smith Rowe, I would say. But I generally agree maybe Duran's benched. Nasser says Captain Holland or Palmer. I think I would definitely Captain Palmer in this circumstance. Muniz to Vardy for a -4. I don't love Vardy that much. I still prefer DCL for the medium to long term, but yeah, if it's just for one game week and you don't have a bench, then go for it. Rob, hey Fran, start one of Greaves, Robinson, and Colwill. You're leaning towards Greaves. Are you insane? No, I don't think you're insane at all. I think I've been recommending I've been recommending Greaves as well, simply because Southampton looked really poor and Ipswich actually have looked decent for the most part. Probably Robinson is still slightly better, although I think the clean sheet loss is like definitely expected in almost all circumstances. Looking at some of the sort of clean sheet odds, I think it's pretty close between all of these teams, right? Like Ipswich, their clean sheet odds are like 19%, which is pretty low. Chelsea's 24%, and then Fulham is 21%. So you're really dealing with the same category of player. So obviously the recommendation, I suppose, there is to go Colwill, but it's really up to you. Like I wouldn't discredit you for doing that. I'd probably consider Robinson still, just because he has the attacking threat. But there's really nothing separating between those picks. So I think it's just, you know, go with the sort of narrative, I suppose, that you're more subscribed to, than just a very arbitrary sort of difference in clean sheet odds for this game week. Is this my final team? Yeah, this is my final team, but obviously we're sitting here waiting for leaks just to react to. Sorry, I'm just quickly looking for leaks and I couldn't really find anything. Chisel Planet gifting another membership to Xander Plays, so congratulations Xander Plays, and thank you Chisel Planet once again. Dream Brother 22, nice to see you around by the way, and thanks for joining the FPL Script sort of live stream chat. Fran, start Munoz or slash Rico. I've went triple Villa. I think it comes down to sort of what your sentiments are on whether Rico Lewis starts or not, right? So personally, I think I would start Munoz just because of safety. But if you think that Rico starts and you're really confident in it, then I think as a gambler, you can go for that. For all on Wildcard 6, it could be good to know that Mo and Arsenal is targeting, so that's Martin Odegaard, sorry, and Arsenal is targeting a November return. Yeah, so that's around pretty long, right? That's basically eight game weeks out for Martin Odegaard, so that's pretty long. Bobby Joe says, hey, Fran, start 2, Welbeck, Smith Rowe, Woods. I think I would definitely start Wood and Welbeck in that circumstance. Doesn't seem like we have any Liverpool leaks today, which is pretty shocking, I have to say. So the Anfield Insights person hasn't tweeted anything, and we're 37 minutes away from the deadline. So I'm sort of, yeah, we'll see. How do I play UCL Fantasy? Yes, I do. I think I scored in the first game week. How many points did I get? I'm not sure. Wasn't that good for me because I didn't have any of the Leverkusen players. But I got 104 points in my first game week, I think. Yeah, so it was pretty annoying that Leverkusen did what they did, but it's fine. I think starting in the top 100k is okay. The deadline is on the hour, not half hour. Yeah, no, I get that. I think there's 36 minutes to the deadline, which is sort of my point. Thank you, Dream Brother, once again. Thank you, Chisel Planet as well. Sorry, I missed actually the super chat from you, Chisel Planet, as well. For the vibes. Thank you. Appreciate it so much. Hope all is well. Hope all is well with a flat as well. Dimitri says, "Hey Fran, I plan to wildcard 6. Would you roll the transfer or get Vardy / DCL playing João Pedro and Welbeck Winks first on the bench?" I think Vardy will definitely. Winks first on the bench isn't exactly great. I do really think that João Pedro plays though, if I'm honest. So I think you'll be fine keeping both, Dimitri, and I would just roll the transfer, to be honest. I would take the chance there. Also happy to be here. Love the other team. Thank you, Dream Brother. Should I take a -4? Xander Play says to take Jota out for Son or Palmer. 3 million in the bank. I guess if you don't have Salah, it could be worth it going for Son or Palmer because it actually gives you a strong captain. I don't see Jota being benched necessarily because I can't see any leaks so far. So without leaks, I wouldn't really be confident in saying that Jota's benched because my intuition is that he's still pretty poor. Yeah, Darwin has been really poor too. So, yeah. Yep, still trying to look for leaks. I don't think we have any, unfortunately, today. No team leaks so far, from what I can see. Trying to have a look at some Liverpool fan accounts as well, just in case they have the lineup. Nope, nothing. This is maybe the first time we actually don't have Liverpool like deadline leaks, which is strange. Anyways, we've got 33 minutes to go. Bruno scores 2 this week and everyone holds him next week. He could be on my wildcard 6. He could be on my wildcard 6. Leaks have become so sparse this season. Yeah, I agree with that. I think part of it too is that Man City apparently have become a lot tighter with leaks, which is normal. Obviously, for such a big team, I think they don't really want lineup leaks, which were quite pervasive last season. A lot of teams have historically not had leaks, like Newcastle, Brighton. I can't remember them ever having leaks, so they seem to be pretty tight. You don't think we're getting much here, Philip? Yeah, I agree. Start João Pedro Madueke. I would start João Pedro. Isak to Watkins. I think it's a very strong move. Isak to Watkins is just a brilliant move. If you could afford Watkins, would you get him right now? Oh yeah, I definitely would. Like if I could go Saka to Salah and then Isak to Watkins, like sure, I'll do that move. But I couldn't. Larav, thank you. FPL L Gunners leaked pool news. Arabian. I'm not sure. Look, I've never seen this account before. It doesn't really give me any enthusiasm that this person has 262 followers. So yeah, I'm gonna say I doubt it. Dan Taylor, thank you for the super chat. Isak to Watkins for a -4. You've got locked in wildcard in game week 6. I don't think it's worth a -6 or a -4, sorry, personally. Unless you're really planning to captain Watkins and that has some value for you, plus you actually have a strong bench or a weak bench. If you have a weak bench, I can understand taking Isak out of your team with a hit. But for the most, I guess like for most circumstances, it's not really worth it for me. As I've been saying too, for people who are thinking about like Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Vardy, I would say Vardy feels like the better short-term punt for game week 5 in specific. But then actually Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I would say, is the better medium to long-term pick. So I would be a bit more confident in Dominic Calvert-Lewin going forwards, is how I would feel about it. That was your instinct. You got Robinson for a sub, I think is totally fine. Because at the end of the day, like, even if it has to do a little bit of quick maths, right? Robinson plus 4 points, do I necessarily think that that's more than Watkins? I don't think so, so I probably wouldn't take the hit. Like, the reality is the hit is concrete, right? That -4 is always going to be there. You have no idea how well Robinson can overperform. Obviously, this applies to Watkins as well, but just generally speaking, in terms of like making average case decisions, it's not really worth it, I would say. Bench Robinson or dunk? I would definitely bench Robinson, human. I don't even think Robinson's particularly good this game week compared to dunk. Because you also have to say that Nottingham Forest have actually looked like a pretty subpar offense, even though they look like such an incredible defense. So it's like, where are you going to hedge your bets? I'd definitely hedge my bets over Brighton. And if I had to tilt that the other way around, like Newcastle are definitely much better at offense than, let's say, defense. By the way, quick little shout out to Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to have a look at some suggested transfers, some expected points to kind of make these decisions as well for your deadline, have a look at the link in bio as well, if you want. As far as can you captain Palmer Super Mega 4X? Absolutely, you can. I think if you've got Salah, I probably wouldn't captain anyone else. But if you don't, if you have Haaland and you've got Palmer, then go for a Palmer captaincy. I think this is very solid. Start Robinson or Harwood Bellis. I'd probably start Harwood. I'd probably still start Robinson, actually. Transfer Muniz to avoid price drop. I think that could be worth it. Because ultimately, it seems like Muniz doesn't seem to be starting. So I can understand transferring him, especially if he's close to a price drop. I guess one question I'd probably ask is, are you going to lose the price drop? Because didn't Muniz actually rise to 6.1? So yeah. Isak not playing, right? No, I don't know that that's true at all. I think Isak very well could play. In fact, Craig Hope, the Newcastle journalist, actually mentioned that he thinks Isak will play. Also, this is Isak's birthday, if anyone cares about that. I don't, but yeah. LT says, Jota out for Bruno Fernandes for a -4. I don't think that's worth a -4. Once again, I don't think we actually have Liverpool leaks today. So I mean, I can have a look again. Yep, doesn't seem like we have any Liverpool leaks whatsoever. Across the board, unfortunately. Still trying to have a look at potential leaks. Dry. We've got absolutely dry news when it comes to leaks today, so that's unfortunate, but that's FPL life sometimes. All right, questions. Have I missed any super chats? Sorry. Just checking. No, I don't think so. Oh, E7, thank you. Semenyo / DCL / Roger / João Pedro, which 3 to start? I think I'd play DCL for sure, play Rogers for sure, play João Pedro for sure, Semenyo benched. Done. Thank you for the super chat though. Would you change Trent to make money to buy Watkins, please? No, I don't think so. I think Trent just has a super good game week. I don't see the value of using 2 free transfers to move off of Trent to get Watkins. So yeah, it's not really worth it. Konsa Robinson for a sub. I think Konsa for a sub's better. Human. George says, thoughts on Smith Rowe to Son and East. Ooh, I actually really like those moves, George. Yeah, Smith Rowe to Son seems great. Isak to Vardy seems great as well. I guess if you're going short term, Vardy's there. DCL for the medium to long term. Tiggy says she needs to start 2 from Greaves, Robinson, and Hall. I think I would just go Greaves and Robinson personally in this instance, because you never know. Like, Hall could still be benched, I suppose. And then Greaves and Robinson, you guarantee their minutes. Clean sheet odds pretty similar between all 3 teams. In fact, for Newcastle, I think the clean sheet odds must be worse, potentially. So yeah, I would take the chance there. Is João Pedro to DCL worth the hit, even though you have Mbeumo? Absolutely not worth the hit at all, Salah. Don't take the hit, please. In fact, I would just play Mbeumo over João Pedro. Salah, definitely, I would play Mbeumo. Don't spam. Yes, I agree, Julian. If you guys use emojis, if you guys spam the same message over and over again, you'll just get timed out. Thank you, Tiggy. Hope you're doing well as well. It was nice to see the Lamine Yamal goal in the Champions League. And Mbeumo scoring today anyway. And Mbeumo was actually a decent pick for this week. 100%. What do you think about Wood? I think Wood's... I don't rate Wood that highly, because I still think that, ultimately, I don't know if Wood is on penalties. If Wood is on penalties, then suddenly my mind completely changes around Wood as a player. Is there a reason why majority aren't starting Konsa? I think most people should be starting Konsa, but I actually have a really strong team, which is why I have Konsa benched. But that's pretty much my answer. Chris Wood is the true DCL. I don't know if I agree with that per se. I mean, Chris Wood has definitely great underlying stats and good finishing, but I think there's nothing to say that DCL's poor whatsoever. Like, if you told me that DCL's minutes are good, then DCL's simply good. If you had the money, would you have gone Solanke instead of Vardy? Yeah, definitely. I think Solanke's better than Vardy. Fran, read your comment. What do you mean, Mandreas? Well, I've read it. I've read that comment specifically. My current rank is 5.6 million. This is my first FPL. You're not done. You're not done at all. Some of the best FPL managers of all time right now are literally ranked 5 point something million. I'm not even joking. Like, I think Marku, one of the best Finnish managers and one of the best managers of all time, is probably ranked in a similar-ish tier, maybe a 3 million something, 4 million something. But yeah, a lot of my friends, really good managers, are also in the millions. Why am I wildcarding this week? I just felt like I liked the wildcard 6 opportunity. I don't have too many Arsenal players in my team. Was a good opportunity to switch goalkeepers as well, in terms of, let's say, some of the other players within my team. A good chance to sort of reassess, where I want to spend the money in terms of like Trent, in terms of Rodgers, for example. And then also a good chance to also reassess whether I want to, I guess, move things along for a team that can maybe be quite robust for up until game week 10, because of course I'd say the fixture swings that are nice on paper on game week 8 would be Spurs' fixture swing, but then actually I'm not really sure if I'm that bought into it, and I don't think there's much more information I really need in FPL to sort of make good robust team decisions for at least the start of the season. So like today, right, or this week, we have Man City playing Arsenal. I'll get more news in terms of Foden's minutes, and I think that's one of the last remaining sort of clues. Savio as well, something else I need to be thinking about. I don't think there's more information I really need in terms of FPL to make strong moves. I think my team was quite weak for game week 5, so good opportunity to sort of get the Salah captaincy and then reassess from that perspective. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah. I'm also not that, I guess, I'm not that interested in selling Haaland as well, because I feel like the best way to navigate a non-wildcard landscape after game week 5 for my own team was to probably sell Haaland for 2 free transfers and to maybe move into, let's say, Salah plus Solanke or Salah plus Watkins, right? And so I don't think I really wanted to do that. I wanted to sort of maintain some team value. Hopefully some price rises and falls will come through on this wildcard window, and that's why I've locked in wildcard 6. Ben Graham, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. Welcome to Captain. Hope you're doing well. Adam Lynch says, I stupidly sold Saka to Diaz last week. I have no Salah, not sure who to captain. I have 1 free transfer. I could do Isak to Watkins and captain him. I think that's a really strong captaincy. Isak to Watkins is a nice free transfer as well. So yeah, Adam, I think sensible moves there. Is Vardy still a good pick for no wildcard game week 6? I think DCL is better. Missed super chat. Oh, sorry about that, LT. I apologize. Start/bench Harwood Bellis for Rico Lewis. I would play Rico Lewis, I think. I would take the chance and play Rico Lewis. I'd have to imagine that Rico Lewis either starts or plays like no minutes at all. And that it's a good opportunity for Lewis to just be a good punt against the field. Any leaks? Unfortunately not. I've been sort of monitoring the Liverpool leaks, I guess, and I still can't see any Liverpool leaks at all. And no leaks in any other directions whatsoever. So unfortunately, no Isak news, but I feel like Isak could very well play. It's his birthday, by the way, if that matters to people. But João Pedro, we know that he's been in training the last 2 days and maybe also today. So that's also very positive for João Pedro. So I feel like a lot of the doubts in our team will probably come up to nothing. But, you know, hopefully that's the insight that you get. Shivam, thank you for your super chat. -4, Muniz to Vardy or bench him / play Robinson. I would just play Robinson, Shivam. I would just play Robinson. Isak hasn't played on his birthday for the last 7 years. Yeah, but I'm not sure if that matters, right? Is it because he's intentionally missing games on his birthday? Like, well, what's the point we're trying to make here? As I said, I don't really care whether he plays on his birthday or not. I'm just saying that some people seem to care, so that's why I thought I would mention it. Tanay says Robinson / Mazraoui / Konsa, one to play. I would just play Konsa, and I think the bench order that I would choose is probably going to be Mazraoui then Robinson. Fran, Burn, Guardiola, Robinson, Konsa, sub 1. I would just easily bench Burn. JW, thank you for the super chat. -4 for Diaz / Isak for Salah and Vardy. Who is DCL? If you're wildcarding on 6, I think that -4 can make sense. Now, keep in mind, of course, Diaz might not start, etc., etc. But yeah, do you guys not work on your birthdays? Please give you a good wildcard team. Most don't work on birthday. Yeah, but I'm not even sure what that even... It depends on the company, right? And also, this is just football. Like, maybe some people just enjoy playing football on their birthdays. Aina or Alex Moreno? I think I'd still go Aina personally. Who is Dominic Calvert-Lewin? I don't know. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Will Kevin start? I don't think Kevin will start. It seems like he didn't even train yesterday. As a Newcastle fan, you have a dilemma to choose between Robinson and Hall. I'd probably go Robinson, but I know you're a Newcastle fan, so you can make that decision on your own as well. Salah says, start Sells or Henderson and Romero... Sorry, start Sells or Henderson. I would definitely start... I'd start... Sells versus Brighton. I'd start Henderson. And Romero or Robinson / Mikolenko. I think I would go Romero. Yeah. Who would you captain? Haaland, Jota, Solanke, Trent. I think I would captain Haaland in that instance. Wood or Vardy for the long term? I think maybe Wood is still stronger for the long term. I'm Evo. Thank you for being a member for 7 months. Really appreciate that. Hope you're well. Any Liverpool team news? Unfortunately, we don't have any Liverpool team news whatsoever, which is a bit of a dampener. But yeah. I don't know why we have no Liverpool team news. Trent starts. That's not really team news, is it? Trent starting was apparently the first piece of news that we got. That's not team news though, is it? At least Trent starts. How is Trent starts news? Anyways, apparently it is news. Okay, start Akanji or Konsa? I think I'd start Konsa. You thought Trent was gone. Sure. Will DCL start? I think he should start, yes. Jota / Diaz 1 week punt. Honestly, let's just wait and see if we get any Liverpool news. Yeah, as I said, it's not news, Trent starting, so hopefully we actually get some serious news soon. Is Howard Bellis a valid option? Dream Brother, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. Welcome to Captain as well. I hope you're doing well. Start JP or Stewart? I think I'd start João Pedro easily. Kelleher will start. Have you got Liverpool leagues, Julian? Let me get this right. So we've got Allison as a doubt. we got Jota and Diaz as doubts, but the news we get is Trent starting. Maybe I'm just ungrateful. All right. Apologies for the spam, protagonist. Start JP or Stuart. I start JP. Hit the like button. Absolutely. Please do hit the like button, actually. Chiseled Planet's right. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for joining on the chat. Really appreciate it. Are you going to Wildcard on Game Week 6? Yes, I am. Start FPL Fran or FPL Fan? Start FPL Fran. Start FPL Fran. Do you think Gakpo starts? I'm not sure. It seems like because he played really well in the Champions League, maybe it makes sense that Gakpo starts again. But of course, Luis Diaz has been playing really well too. Isak to Watkins for a -4. I would only do Isak to Watkins for a -4 if you actually have literally no bench. If you have any bench options whatsoever, I don't think it's worth it. I've already answered the wildcard taste here. John Wick says, hi Fran, thoughts on Raya, Dunk, Robertson, Konsa, Salah, Captain, Rogers, Luis Diaz, Palmer, Minte, João Pedro, Holland, Lewis on the bench. Yeah, that looks good. Looks good to me. Good luck, and I hope hopefully you'll get some leaks as well that are actually useful in terms of Diaz, Jota, etc. Yeah. João Pedro, Smith Rowe. I think I would play João Pedro. Smith Rowe, Ben Brereton, Diaz. I'd probably still go Ben Brereton, Diaz. LFC Newsroom on Insta is reliable and says Gakpo and Darn will start. Whoa. Is that true? LFC Newsroom. Let me just have a look. How reliable are they though? Because I think one of the issues that I've found in the past is that some really massive Liverpool fan pages have gotten stuff wrong. But that's just a predicted lineup though, not a confirmed leak, right? Yeah. That's a predicted lineup. That's not a leak. It's just an expected squad. Yeah, that's an expected squad. I don't think that's reliable. Personally. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong though. Salah as well. Yeah, I think so. I did actually answer all these questions in super chats. That's fine. Small channel. You mean LFC Newsroom? Oh, nice long stream. Have a good weekend and wishing you all green arrows. Thank you, Fish, and hope you have a lovely green arrow as well. Bench Wood, Minte, or Isak. I think I'd bench Minte because I feel like Minte has the highest risk of being benched potentially in that situation. Too late. You already took a -4 Ring Nunez in. Well, I never confirmed that leak, so I don't love these Liverpool leakers' reliability. Spawn Cop had intel previously. Yeah, I think what I can say is that I've monitored Anfield Insight 9 for a long time, and I don't think he's ever gotten it wrong. Like even in terms of some of the controversial calls. But for all the other like big there's so many Liverpool accounts, right? And some of them are just posting their predicted lineups, so it's very, very different in those circumstances. But I'll just continue to monitor that page because I do think I've got a bit of confidence in Anfield Insights because I feel like I tried to keep a track of who's actually getting things right and wrong, and he's not really gotten things too wrong in the past. FPL Tony, I mean FPL Tony is a Patreon nowadays. Amarildo, thank you for your super chat. Bench 1 Eze, Jota, Eze, Rogers, Salah. I would bench Madueke, I think. I'd bench Madueke. Someone's actually saying that Anfield Insights 9 has gotten things wrong though as well. So yeah, I think that's an issue. Gakpo starts as striker if Diaz starts as well. The thing is, I think he's been pretty clear that he doesn't really like Gakpo as a center forward. Jota starts. Who said Jota starts? I'll have a look at potential other leaks. Baker retweet. Okay, I'll have a look at what Baker said. I hope Baker's well. Whoa. Okay. Is that reliable? I don't know the reliability of the account that Baker retweeted, if I'm being completely honest. So I think it's quite tough. But look, honestly, if you own, I do trust Baker as well. I do trust Baker as well. But if for example, if Jota starts and you own Jota, like just keep Jota, right? So no -4s for Jota for any of the players. And obviously, if you have Jota in your team, just start him. Which is why obviously Amarildo, as I said, probably bench Madueke. See your comment, Philip. You mean in terms of the Liverpool reliability? James Wathland is saying Jota starts, but you can't confirm it. He has gotten some transfers right very early for us. Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Thanks. The thing is, I'm not going to retweet it because I don't know the reliability. Yeah. I mean, I'll follow him because it seems like he's old enough to not want to bait, but I don't know. We'll see. Wildcard this week, would you Salah or no Salah? I think I'd probably still go Salah because Salah could actually be a really good Game Week 6 captain as well. So yeah, I think I definitely would still wildcard with Salah this game week, but I probably wouldn't have too much Liverpool. Like I wouldn't have triple Liverpool on a wildcard. Alisson start? I don't know. We haven't really gotten any news in terms of Alisson. But, you know, we can name and shame people after this. I just hope it's correct. Is pretty much it. First bench, Mazraoui or Gabriel. I think I'd probably bench Gabriel. First bench. Can you please confirm real quick if João Pedro, Isak are playing? I can't confirm. I don't have news on it, but I think João Pedro and Isak should both play. A Newcastle reporter mentioned that he thinks Isak will start. That's Craig Hope. As far as João Pedro, it seems like he's been training the last 2 days. So, yeah, that's the news that we got. Will Duran start? I don't think Duran starts, or at least a lot of Villa fans are predicting that he's not going to start. We haven't really gotten too many confirmed leaks other than Jota starts and Trent starts. So no confirmation on Alisson. Yeah. I mean, oh well. Konsa or Mazraoui, I definitely play Konsa. Why Henderson is a goalkeeper? I mean, I just don't have the. I don't have the room to really make goalkeeper transfers in FPL. So can't really see what the point of taking a -4 to go out of Henderson is. Like the reality is goalkeeper returns are super erratic, right? Think about Sanchez. Like he really should have conceded versus Bournemouth, but instead he saves a penalty and gets 15 points. How likely is that situation? Like how likely can we predict situations like that? I'm not really quite sure. Hello, my friend. Eze to Jota, Eze or Jota to Salah. I'd probably go Jota to Salah, to be honest. Isak to Vardy to free funds for Eze to Saka next week. But why not just make those transfers next week, right? I guess if you want to do it like that. Start Bailey or DCL. I'd start DCL for sure, Joe. Let me see if I've missed any super chats as well. Apologies if I have. Just Jaden says, wildcard this week, would you Salah or no Salah? I think, yeah, as I said, if I was wildcard Game Week 5, I think I'd still go Salah. Okay, we got another leak. Konate starts. The Jota source might not be real, guys. By the way, I just want to put that out there completely clear. Start Madueke or Konsa. I think I'll definitely start Konsa. Just because I don't know, who knows? If Madueke comes off the bench, that's not exactly great. So we know that Konate starts. What am I talking about? Start Konsa Robinson. I definitely start Konsa. Holland captaincy is the differential that will stand out this week. He's going to bang. Okay. Are there Chelsea leaks? I don't think so. What are the leaks? The leaks apparently are that Trent and Konate starts, so not really leaks whatsoever. Should we bench Diaz? I don't think you should bench him, but it's pretty risky, I would say. To be honest, tough call. I think if you've actually got a reasonably good option to replace Luis Diaz, then replace Luis Diaz with that. But for now, I don't think... Yeah, I would still say that there's a bit of uncertainty over Luis Diaz and Jota starting. And especially Allison as well, which is not great news. We only have Konate starts and Trent starts from a good source. And then actually a new source has said that Jota starts, but I'm uncertain whether that's like super verifiable, if that makes sense. Another piece of Liverpool news, Jota starts. So maybe Jota starts, it seems like. Start Gabriel, Greaves, or Harwood Bellis. I think I'd start Harwood Bellis and then Greaves and then actually, I mean, yeah, and then maybe you could play Gabriel over Greaves. It's pretty close. Conrad Lamb, thank you for your super chat. Isak to Watkins or Saka/Palmer to Salah? I would go Saka to Salah. If you're wildcarding, I would go Saka to Salah. If you're not wildcarding, I actually would skip Salah entirely and I would just go Isak to Watkins. So I think I would answer your question by going back to the point of saying, are you wildcarding? If you're not wildcarding, just go to Watkins, I would say. But yeah, that's it, I would say, in terms of leaks. Maybe we'll get more leaks over the next few minutes. So yeah, the news so far is Jota, Trent, Konate starts. In terms of chat questions, let me just quickly flick through them. João Pedro starting, I'm not sure, but Fabian has basically mentioned that he's not going to take risks, so I can't really see whether João Pedro is going to be coming off the bench, right? I think he either starts or he's not in the squad once again. As far as my team value, someone's asking about my team value. Let me have a look. My team value is 99.2 plus 1.5, so yeah, I mean, not exactly the best. All right, other chat questions. Let's see. Harwood Bellis or Munoz or Guardiola? I would play Guardiola for sure. Raya or Ederson long term? I would go Raya. Kwanzaa benched. Yeah, that's correct. Gonna start Rico Lewis over Munoz. So you think? I think that's totally fine as adjusted. Like, honestly, that's a good punt. Isak starting. I'm not sure about it, but I think he should. As I said, a Newcastle reporter, Craig Hope, said he thinks Isak starts, but we don't really know. I have no idea. What do you mean that Isak starts? Are you saying that there's a leaker saying that Isak starts? Wait, what? Uh, you have to see the Buna leak today, guys. The Buna leak is crazy. That's the deadline. That's the deadline. I need to show you guys something, but like, so I think you guys all know FPL Buna, right? So the guy who usually does the trolls. And yeah, he he I think was cosplaying this account today. So he was pretending to be a Liverpool account, and I think he just said that Mo Salah was benched. So this was his post. That Gakpo, Darwin, Jota was the team, which is hilarious. That's some world class bait. Oh, okay. Anyways, back to FPL. Locked. Good luck, everyone. 100%. Hope you guys are doing well. Buna for president. You've heard enough. You gotta block Buna. Nah, I can't. I think it's just funny. If I ever get baited by Buna, it's hilarious. Fran, should I press the wildcard button straight after GW5 starts and transfer in key Arsenal assets? I think transfer in any assets that you want to get price rises and reduce price falls for. Isak starting leak. Is the leak coming like after the deadline? That's not very helpful, is it? Okay, I mean, we'll find out sooner or later, I suppose, whether there are leaks for players. But good luck, guys. Really enjoy the deadline stream. Thank you guys for tuning along. Please like and subscribe as well if that helps. And that's it, really. I would say take care. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the FPL. If you don't get a green arrow, that's life. But hope you guys all get your greens. And that's it.